Hello, everybody. I'm Dolph Janis, a Clear Income Strategist Group, and I truly appreciate you taking the next 35 minutes out of your day and your week to join us today on the principles of retirement planning. It's a lot of information we're going to be covering today. Any transcripts or any notes or anything you have questions on the right side of your screen, you can ask them for me, or you can email me after the presentation's over with. I said there's a lot of information. We can give you the whole transcript because we will be going through this for you. And if there's any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. The disclaimer here is I'm not a tax accountant. I am not a certified CPA of any nature. This is just general information that we've encountered and we've gathered for you. We're not here to provide legal or tax advice for you. We're just showing you the different ways for retirement planning that are going forward that you can do. And we're here to show you different rates, charts, and information for yourself. Obviously, the disclosure just to protect us on all ends for that for us. Again, I've been in the industry since 2004, seen quite a bit in my lifetime, a lot of ups and downs. I've seen a lot of different crashes, a lot of presidential changes, a lot of tax changes, and so forth. A couple of years ago, I wrote a book, Across the Bridge to Retirement. If you'd like to have a copy of that, just feel free to email me or text me. We'll get you a complimentary hard copy or PDF copy over for yourself. I consider myself an educator, and I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to be on all these places in front of you. Several articles on Forbes, Money, Fortune, a lot of different other publications. I had a radio show standing for 12 years, until COVID hit, and then limitations hadn't back that off through. But we're getting ready to ramp up the radio here probably the beginning of next year. So all these articles here that I've written and been a part of, including the white papers, are available at gargersavings.com, which is our subsidiary webpage for you as well. Why do we do what we do? My belief and my team's belief is educating first and advising second. Everybody part of my team below, Jeff, Lauren, Laura, Veronica, myself, we are here for the clients. We are here to make sure they're making the right decisions for today, to make sure the right decisions going into tomorrow and in the future of their life. We all have our stories. Everybody's story in this world is different. My story is a family atmosphere. My story is passion. And it's to make sure you're doing the right decision for yourself. A lot of people out there are told one thing from captive advisors versus independent advisors. We're independent advisors looking at the whole broad picture to make sure you have your liquidity today, to make sure you have your growth for tomorrow, to make sure you have your income for life, and to make sure you have money for legacy planning down the road. So we are very passionate here at Clear Income Strategist Group. Again, education is first, advising is second going forward. Now, we're on right to the presentation here. It's going to jump right in here. A lot of this stuff you're going to recognize. You're also going to, in the coming days and weeks, we're going to be actually breaking this down into 5 separate videos. So if there's this particular part in there, we're going to be a little bit more in depth on each program, because there's about 7 different full topics on here that we're going to be covering rapidly, because I want you to educate yourself and understand there's a lot of principles of retirement planning. Today's objective is pretty simple. It's to understand and apply the key principles that can help guide to a successful retirement. No retirement is unsuccessful. No retirement is perfect. Nothing in life is that way. It's planning forward. Look at retirement. It's like planning for a family vacation. You want to make sure everything's perfect, everything the way it is. And if you do everything step by step and you follow the rules, and sometimes you don't jump outside the box, the odds are in your favor. The more negatives you can take away from retirement planning and turn them into positives, the happier you and everybody else is going to be going forward. So what are some of the greatest concerns surrounding retirement? I mean, this is a general question. You hear it all the time from every advisor, from every TV show, and everybody out there. Is your top retirement concerns are having too much debt when you get into retirement, not being able to retire because you have too much money, not enough money to pay those bills, affording living expenses, paying medical bills, which is one of the highest costs in retirement, the healthcare bills, and we'll talk about it as we go along. Outliving their money. That is one of the biggest fears out there, is generating enough money to live, because one of the questions in life, folks, you don't know is how long are you going to live? Because that's the one question nobody just knows. I mean, you could go 60, 70, 80, 90. I have a client that's 104 years old, lives up in New Jersey, still kicking, still playing golf. So, I mean, are you ready to live an extended life? Because people are living longer. And then another one, believe it or not, 2 and 1 used to be flip-flop. Number 1, Social Security running out, that used to be like number 6 concern. But now with all the different regulations going in, that's jumped all the way to number 1 recently, is that because Social Security is one of your money funds that you need to hold on to and use correctly because it's used to supplement your lifestyle. So 2 and 1 kind of go side by side, because if one goes away, you're going to have to rely heavily on the other. And that's where one of the concerns of retirement planning comes forward. So question I'm asking yourself right now is, can you identify yourself with one or more of these concerns? If none of these concern you whatsoever, you're probably on the right path, or you believe you're on the right path. But getting a second opinion never can hurt. Never hurts getting a second choice on what's going to go forward. We've all been told about retirement success is about knowing and reaching your savings goal. Live by this simple motto: it's what you keep that counts. And what goes into that piggy bank really makes a difference, because you decide when it comes out. Don't let somebody else take it coming out for you. However, retirement success can be made possible by prioritizing retirement income protection over the savings goal. Another thing, if you've heard my radio show, or you've heard me speak, or you've even met me, or any of the publications, I said the best way to make money is not to lose money, because you go down, how much more it takes you to go up. We'll get into that a little while later, but keeping that money covered and protected, knowing what it's going to be used for, is so important when it gets into retirement planning. Some key principles that you really need to understand, and this is one thing that most people, everybody knows, but sometimes don't prioritize properly. Protecting the income that you need in retirement so that you can maximize the income for the things that you want in retirement. And people say, Dolph, what do you mean needs versus wants? And I'll talk to you about that in a second. But at the end of the day, if you don't take care of your needs, your home, your bills, and your family, the wants, the vacations, the beach houses, and stuff like that, they're not going to happen. So there's 2 types of income, and only 2. And people are going to they argue with me and they laugh at me and say, oh, that's not right. There's so different types of income in there. But yes, there is. Income for what you need: home, food, clothing, medical bills, transportations. It's income for what you need. The other income is for the incomes that you want: traveling, a second home, education, golfing, all that stuff. Those are the 2 different types of income that you're bringing into your household. Some of it's going to be taking care of your needs. Some of it's going to be taking care of your wants. But the needs is the bullseye. If you ever played darts, you have to hit that bullseye in the center. That's what the most important is. I can't stress it enough, is focus on the needs first. Once you get, when I'm talking with clients and you get your income needs taken care of, oh boy, deli, the wants just fly in there, because now you know how much more you could spend and keep yourself in control of that. But then comes in, I hate talking about negative stuff, but the potential risk to your retirement income. The number 1 risk out there is longevity, as we just talked about a few minutes ago. You don't know how long you're going to live. Inflation, tenfold. We're seeing what's happened in the last year with inflation, how quickly prices can change, because now you're making X and now you need to go to Y, and you're trying to figure, where's that income gap going to come from? Again, the word income is going to be mentioned a lot today, but longevity, how long you live, and then inflation, then tack on top of that, volatility. I mean, we've just experienced 11 of a 12-year stretch. It's been unbelievable. People have had a fantastic stretch and run, and how soon they forget what happened in 2008 and 9. I'll forget what happened in 2001, 2002. It happens, and there's a lot of volatility potentially on the horizon. And if there's not, it will be at some point. And are you prepared for it? Survivorship. This is another biggie, that if you're married out there, taking care of the family, the ones that you love, to make sure they don't have to miss a beat, as one would say, going forward. And of course, the big nut and caboli of all of them, taxes, the unknown. I mean, we have the Secure Act and the Trump tax cuts that were there that end in a couple of years, or if the current administration changes them, you can already see they're already getting ready to double capital gains tax. So taxes is very important, and we have a tax software here that we provide for clients to see what kind of level they are in for taxes. And the question you have to ask, to what degree are these risks relevant to your retirement income? So now I've already thrown a lot of out there in here, and we're just getting started between needs versus wants. And now we're talking about risks. It's like, okay, start putting the pieces together in the puzzle. That's what I said. This is such an important presentation that you can take bits and pieces out, and it's a lot of book time material, thinking for yourself of Which direction am I going to go? So let's break these down a little bit. Longevity risk: anticipate living longer than expected and needing care. One thing that people don't understand is, oh, I'm not going to live past 80. Well, guess what? 80 gets here before you know it, and then you're living past 80 like your parents, and then long-term care comes up. If life expectancy and the cost of elderly increases, there's a greater probability that long-term care will be a required expense in retirement. And guess what? Long-term care is not cheap. Believe it or not, 62% of non-retirees say they have no idea how much they'll spend on healthcare in retirement. There's different studies that go anywhere that a married couple is going to spend between $300,000 and $500,000 in retirement. And if that's a lot of chunk of change, and do you have that money prepared for yourself? Let's go to the government. They're never wrong. They have these statistics all over the place. So let's go to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. What do they say? They're saying that 56% of Americans turning 65 today will develop a disability serious enough to require long-term care. That's over 50%. So if someone tells you you have a 56% chance of winning the lottery versus a 44% chance of losing, it's the same thing. You're above the average. About 1 in 5 adults will have a long-term disability that will last for more than 5 years. My Uncle Sam was put into a nursing home. He was there for 9.5 years. He had long-term care coverage, thank God, because most LTCs that they get today only last 5 years. That's why it's important to see a health professional to make sure you're getting the right coverage for yourself. And on average, an American turning 65 today will incur $137,000 plus in long-term care costs. That's a chunk of change. And where's that money going to come from? How is it going to be allocated? Again, today, tomorrow, never. Have enough money to spend today, enough money to enjoy tomorrow, and having that never money. That never money is the things you don't plan on happening in life, but if they do happen, you're prepared for it. One of the number one rules I try to talk to my clients about and prospects is having those three: today, tomorrow, and never. And unfortunately, most families will pay about 59% or more of those costs out of their pocket, which is a shame. So we're going to do a case study. I love doing these little case studies. This is Sue and Bill. And if there's a Sue and Bill on a board, I apologize. It's just two standard names I used. They're both 66 years old and recently retired. Both are active and healthy. They would like to remain in their home if they become ill and require long-term care service. They would like to leave an inheritance to their 2 kids, if at all possible. Bill is hesitant about coverage as his friend just experienced a 67% rate increase. So Bill is like, I don't know if I want to do that, because that's going to take away from my retirement savings if I get that long-term care coverage. But they agreed to let their advisor create a plan to help solve for affording long-term care. So let's look at Bill and Susan Bill's current asset and income. Annual expenses, 61,000 plus, income 55,000. Obviously, you can see they're spending more than they need. They got 50,000 in their checking account, 200,000 in one IRA, 300,000 in another IRA. Obviously, these values are hypothetical. For Sue and Bill are just fictitious features, people, but we're showing you what their portfolio looks like. So without long-term care protection, the assumption is 4% retirement rate of return. Let's do 3% rate of inflation. Let's say it steadies off a little bit than what it's doing right now. Bill requires a stroke and in-home care for 6 years at a cost of $72,000 a year. And this cost is deducted from Sue and Bill's total asset balance. So what's going to happen? This is what's going to happen. Look at their earnings from assets, look at their shortfall, and boom, how much money they're going to need versus what they've got coming in. And they're going to be going from $612,000 balance all the way to $87,000 at the end of the 6 years. And if Bill predeceases Sue, what's Sue going to be living on? So Bill passes away at 76. Sue's income needs are reduced along with her Social Security benefits and income, hence putting her in a dire straight situation where she now has a shortfall at 77 of over $2,300 a month. Now, with long-term care protection, Sue and Bill purchased an asset-based policy that requires an annual premium of a little under $15,000. Now, Bill has a stroke at 70, requires in-home care for 6 years. However, the policy pays $6,000 a month for those 6 years. Look at the difference of what's going to happen at the end of those 6 years. Still almost $500,000 left in there. Asset Shield long-term care insurance is not that expensive, but boy, if something happens, it's going to protect your spouse going forward. Something we can help you with, something that Jeff Conyers, our in-house life and long-term care specialist, also can help you out here, because Sue's income needs are reduced, but her benefit income is taken care of at the same time. And you can see she has no shortfall whatsoever. Moving on, into inflation risk, which I said, inflation is just, we went through a long stretch where we had no inflation. Now it's purchasing power. That's what inflation's all about right now. 76% of individuals are not discussing the impact of inflation, how it can prevent them from enjoying their retirement. I have a few recent prospects, Terry and Bill and Hugh and Kenneth and Lorraine, that I've been talking to recently, and the power of increasing income is huge in retirement to keep up with the cost of the dollar. Is a dollar today might not be worth $1 in 10 years from now. Are you ready for that to happen? Remember, inflation is a real cost in retirement that you have no control over. You can see how quickly, just within a span of 10 months, how just like gasoline has shot up almost 75 to 80% more than it was a year ago. That's just gasoline. Look at the cost of a lot of these other services, especially with not as many people in the workforce right now in the hospitality industry. I mean, I went to a restaurant the other day. I wanted to get a soda. They wanted $3.95 for a soda. I mean, yes, I can go to McDonald's and get it for $1, but I mean, that's a different story. But you know, I mean, $4 for a soda, I mean, is it going to go down? Probably not. And if people are paying it, they're going to pay it. Now, look at inflation over the last 30 years, from 1992 to current. I mean, inflation rate, those years between 2000 and let's see, 1997, and then all the way dipped during 2008. It's like a roller coaster, boom. But now you can see it's on the rise again. It's almost at the highest point it's ever been in the last 30 years. And that was back in 2008 before the big bubble bop. So are you ready for this over your next 30 years? Let's just say history repeats itself. The next 30 years of inflation look like this 30 years. Are you ready for that? Without the little graphs, here's a little bit more recent snapshot over just the last 12 months or 14 months here of how inflation last year and then moved into this year. And then I'm not using political here, so I apologize if you take it that way. But in January, we had a changing the guard, let's just say. And you can see how inflation's jumped from 1.4% all the way up to over 5% right now, with unfortunately no relief in sight, as we can see, which hopefully that will change here shortly. But that is where we're at with inflation from over the last, during the years of COVID, which has declined the purchasing power from 1913 to 2020. I mean, I'm going to pop these up here real quickly. We're going through there. First measure inflation, boom, from 1913 down to current. That is a huge purchasing power difference. So $100 in 1913 was worth $3.80 in 2020. I know it's 107 years difference. And that's a little extreme, and I apologize for showing it to you, but just that's how purchasing power has declined because of inflation. Because inflation rate, according to the retirement statistics of LIMRA, and here's a model of Social Security benefits over a period of 20 years at an inflation rate of 1%, 2%, and 3%. Even at 3%, that is $117,000 less in purchasing power that you're going to have over a 20-year span. That's a lot of money. It's almost $1,341 a month less purchasing power 20 years from now if inflation just is at 3%. Mind you, right now we're at 5%. It's something to think about. So inflation protection strategies, let's move on to how we can consider that. There's two different types. You have those income levels. You have protected income, products that allow for inflation adjustments. I mean, there are insurance products out there. There's even other products and strategies out there that will guarantee your income and that it can increase with inflation. You can have an inflation protection rider tacked on top of it. And then you have the market related money. And then let's just say we're going 50-50. And these strategies that work to provide inflation adjustments if the market is performing properly. That's the big word, as I like to use, the if word. If it's doing it well, shoot yourself and let's go forward like we have over the last 11 years. Keep yourself ahead of the 8 ball, as one would say. But with volatility risk, establishing a portfolio allocations that reflects risk tolerance. Almost half of individuals say a stock market drop is the greatest threat to their retirement income. Only half. Now, if you think about that, it's like, whoa, most people think it's a lot more than that, but this is only half that think the drop is the greatest. What are the other half thinking? But financial losses in retirement is when you're no longer earning income can have a greater impact than the actual gains that you're receiving. So mathematics is just what this is all about, the loss of distribution. Long-term investing success includes the ability to avoid large losses during declines in the market can experience. Yes, annuities are a portion of that. Yes, there's other avenues out there, CDs and certain bonds and stuff like that that can protect you against that. But let's just put this in perspective. If you lose 10%, you need 11% to get back to even. So if you had $100,000, you lost 10%, you're at 90. You gain 10%, you're only at 99,000. I ask this question to a lot of people, hey, if you lose 10, you make 10, are you even? How many people say yes, but actually that 100% of the time is incorrect. Now let's just say you have a 20% drop. Now you need 25% to get back to even. 30% drop, you need 43% gain to get back to even. And of course, if you have a 50% drop, that means you need to double into 100% gain. So if we have a huge correction like we saw in 2008, 2009, and I'm going to tell you here shortly how long it usually takes to get back to normal, do you have that time to wait? Do you have that time to let your money grow for yourself? Because long-term success includes the ability to avoid large losses. The 4% rule for Morningstar has been around for a long time, saying if you take out 4% of your portfolio, it should last you the rest of your life. But believe it or not, because of inflation and all the volatility out there, it is now about 2.7%. So let's say your withdrawal rate's zero, you lost 10%, you need 11% to get back to even. Okay. But now let's say you have the same percent loss and you're taking out 4% from the withdrawal aspect. Now you need 16% to get back to even. Now you're a negative 6% going forward. And imagine if that was a 20% loss, now you're going to need 31% to get back to even. And you can see how that distribution level goes down because you're taking out distributions. Big difference in going in a negative aspect going forward. Market recovery trends. Now, I'm going to put all these on the screen real quickly here. 29, the Great Depression, period of loss, 2.8 years. Length of recovery, 12 years. 2001, the internet bubble, 2.1. It took 8 years to get length of recovery here. The Great Recession in 2008 lasted a little over almost a year and a third. It took 6 years to recover to get back to even. Remember that, folks. Get back to even on your portfolio. This is where different strategies out there. If you're not going backwards, you're not having to wait to come back forwards. 6 years is a long time. 4 years is a long time. 12 years is an extremely long time. Why would you want to wait to get back to even when you don't have to? Just something in the back of your mind to realize, because when is that next bubble going to come? I mean, we had 25 days versus COVID in 2020. The length of recovery was 125 days. Oh my God, how lucky we were there, but it was only a 25-day loss. But remember how quickly it went down 32% in 25 days. Yes, it came back like a roar fangle, but it's still, is that going to happen? And how often will that happen here? Sequence of returns is huge. Let's look at Harry's retirement in a bull market versus a bear market. He retires the same day with two different market scenarios. He puts $100,000 with the same allocation, and he's going to withdraw $5,000 a year. Now, in the scenario, he's in a bull market, which means things are going well for the first 15 years of his portfolio, and returns are coming out. And guess what? At the end of 15 years, he's got 105,000. So he's taken out $75,000 in money. He's still got his money there. Now let's shift the turns. And let's say you retire in a bear market. Oh boy, now you're down to $35,000 because things are not going well. So you've barely gotten back to even for what you totally are, but now you're down to $35,000. Ask yourself this question: if you're in retirement or going to retirement, you want to start taking income, folks. Is the next 15 years going to be like the last 15 years? Or the next 15 years going to be like the 15 years prior to that? So important for you to believe what you're going to do, because honestly, I think there's a lot of volatility coming up going forward, because that first 5 years in retirement, that can make or break your financial income level. And you can see how that 5-year stretch just can really destroy around here. So if the fact of removing portfolio volatility from your portfolio, 55-year-old couple retires in 10 years. They start withdrawing money at the age of 65. Objective to make it to 95 without living their assets. Is it possible? Yes, anything's possible in this world. I always tell my daughter, anything's possible. But let's just do the 50% protected money. Let's just say an income product and 50% in the market. You got a 77% probability to make it to not outlive your money. Pretty good odds. If you have 100% in the market, according to studies, you got a 60% probability, which means you have a 40% probability of failure. Now, is the risk worth the reward? Is something like that you have to real consider is, do you want to take guarantees or do you want to take promises of the unknown? I'm a big fan of taking guarantees, protecting yourself. Survivorship risk we talked about. Plan for your survivor, any dependent spouse. Typically, when a spouse passes, the income in retirement tends to decrease for the surviving spouse and its dependents going forward. If your spouse passes away tomorrow, do you know for certain you can continue to afford the current lifestyle for the remainder of retirement? Probably you can if you plan properly. And then again, it all comes down to income. But things you have to consider, and when you're a financial professional, maybe myself or another one, need to talk to yourself about Social Security benefit reduction, pension reduction if there's a pension involved. Do you have to go back to part-time work? And what is your lifestyle adjustment going to look like going forward? 4 big considerations to realize, because you don't take for granted what's there today because it might not be there tomorrow. It's a sad truth, but it's the truth. Enjoy today to look forward to tomorrow and live and remember everything. Because the financial impact of survivorship, I mean, Bob and Susan are receiving $5,400 a month in retirement. Social Security from Susan's $1,800. Bob's pension's $1,500. His Social Security is $2,100. Things are looking ball and dandy. Well, Bob passes away and Susan elects to receive Bob's Social Security benefit of $2,100. So she doesn't receive her benefit of $1,800. So she gains $300, but actually she's losing $1,500. So her income level is down to 33% reduction. Knowing these numbers is very important. Now, if Bob would have chose a single pension payout, guess what? Now she's getting just $2,100 because that pension, once he passes away, goes away. The importance of understanding pension payouts in the different levels. I said, I'm a fan of keeping control of your money. And if you have that pension, take the buyout, put it somewhere where you can control it, not somebody else, to make sure your beneficiaries are also taken care of. So what is the solution for survivorship risk? Something that a lot of people don't like, but it's true. And it's one of the few things out there. It's called life insurance. And as Jeff would tell you, not all life insurance is created equal, my friend. You got term insurance, whole life insurance, universal life, and index universal life insurance. All designed to do something differently. Excuse me. Term insurance is designed to, for a term policy, have enough money. If you pass away, passes on to the wife. Whole life has a cash value with it, with a death benefit that's tax-free. All these are tax-free death benefits. Universal life and index universal life, some people are huge fans of it. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of it because it takes about 6 to 8 years before it starts getting working. But if done properly and set up properly, the death benefit can be very beneficial for you down the right. And then variable life, we don't work with it because it's not guaranteed, it's not insured. And anything with the word variable in it, I run away as fast as I would be from trying to play Ohio State every year as a Michigan fan. They all come with a death benefit. The duration, cost, and guarantees are the biggest difference in all 3 of them. And that's what you need to do is when you talk to Jeff or a life agent, knowing the difference between the 3 of them. And finally, tax risk, reducing your future tax liability, because higher taxes can reduce the longevity of your retirement because you're spending more in taxes, hence lessen more paychecks that you have coming in. I mean, the debt to gross profit is a leading indicator of tax increases. I mean, look at these numbers here of the debt ceiling where we're at. Now we're a lot more 10 trillion, but the debt ratio, tax margins, I mean, how they're growing, during World War II, 94%. But even a 35% in growing tax rate is a lot of money. Where are you going to fall? Where are we going forward? I mean, if they raise the capital return limits, taxes on their capital gains, where are you going to go before? With the COVID Act, I mean, look at this, boom. We're now at $27+ trillion in debt in just short time, how much money, and that thing's going higher. They want more and more money to spend. So we're at 129 debt to gross deposit ratio. We're putting 37% of that on the wealthy. Well, it's going to spread down. It's trickle down economics, my friends. The taxes are going to trickle down all the way down to no matter what tax class you're in. How do you protect yourself here? Here's a quick chart, just showing you the same what we just saw. In debt inspect, we're all the way up the top. If you look there, $28.2 trillion, and there's not enough money coming in to pay for all that stuff. It's just astronomical. So how do we produce tax liabilities? You have to understand how your money is taxed in retirement. There's two different ways. It's qualified money, and you have non-qualified. Qualified coming for 401k plans, your IRAs, your 403bs, your non-qualified assets, checking, savings accounts, and non-qualified annuities. To reduce future tax liability, if done properly, this is one of the greatest creations out there. It's called a Roth Conversion. Potentially advantageous strategy for those who believe that there will be higher tax brackets in retirement. Ding, yes, there will be. The taxes will increase while they're in retirement. Ding, yes, there will be. So because you pay taxes on right now on the conversion up front, everything you take out later in life is tax-free. So consult with us or another tax person to see if a Roth conversion makes sense for you without straining you now, but to protect you later with taxes. Because if you look at it, qualified versus non-qualified in the tax aspect of it with the two charts, let's just say you're in the 80% qualified assets and you knock that down to 40% with a Roth, guess what? You just cut your tax liability by 40%. And going forward, that's extra money in your pocket to take care of your needs versus your wants. So to recap the 5 risks to retirement income, potential risks are income planning strategies, which is longevity, inflation, volatility, and survivorship, and taxes. And then actions you can step to take towards your protection income is identify what you need in retirement versus what you want. Understand your retirement income sources and characteristics, qualified versus non-qualified, how much in taxes. Do a chart. We have a chart that we'd be more than happy to share from you for watching this. We will be sending it to you if you sign up for this. It's a very nice chart that will help you do these steps for yourself as well going forward. And stress test your retirement income. See how long it will last, how much is guaranteed, how much is not guaranteed. So you have to identify the income you need versus what you want. Remember, the things that you want to take care of is your home, your future, your clothing, medical, transportation, before you can travel, before you can go do your hobbies and buy a boat. Those are very important. Understanding the characteristics of these is, where's this income going to come from? Pensions, 401ks, investments, annuity products, Social Security. Got to know where your money is going to come from in retirement, folks. And once you have that taken care of, the rest is a piece of cake. So you have all these different income sources: bonds, fixed annuities, pensions, rental income, in stocks. What is likely, what is unlikely to go forward? This is a chart and that I want to show to you, and I'd be more than happy to send this out to you. The check marks is very likely for guaranteed income growth potential, and then it's specific for a lot of other ones. But you want to look again for the biggest thing, the check marks, the guarantees on here. Which one have a lot of guarantees? Which one has a lot of unlikelies on there? No versus guessing makes a big difference going forward. And then stress fresh retirement, folks. I mean, know where your longevity area is, know inflation. I've beaten down a dead bush here, talking about this more times than Carter has liver pills, is understand these 5 risks: longevity, inflation, volatility, survivorship, and taxes. The key to a successful retirement is knowing those, learning those, and most importantly, accepting those very much. So the objective of our process today is to help you protect your income again in closing for the needs of your retirement, to maximize the wants of retirement. That's what this is all about. Taking care of yourself, understand the principles of retirement planning in 5 easy steps. I know we've covered a lot of information over the last 36 minutes. Sometimes I get so passionate, I talk a little fast, but all these screens are covered for you. I'm going to do an individual 5-minute video on each one of those coming forward. That we'll be more than happy to share for you. I mean, If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call at the office. You can visit my calendar link where my whole calendar pops open, wide open for you. And you can choose what time and date of any questions for a strategy session. Also, you can go to guardyoursavings.com. It's a list of our 50-some plus different complimentary resources to learn about retirement planning the right way, taking care of yourself and your loved ones. I want to thank everybody for attending the Principles of Retirement workshop here today. I hope you learned something a lot. If you haven't, and I'm sorry, if you have any questions, let me make sure you're educated properly. I'm going to make sure that you know what you didn't understand. Because I said, there's a lot of information to cover here in this 37 minutes that we have in time allotted to understand that. So thank you very much. And over the next 15 to 20 seconds, you're going to see the disclosures of the resources of where we received all the information from this presentation. God bless you. God bless this great country we live in. Take care, and I hope to talk to each one of you ever soon. Take care.